Okay, boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning into a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have a magnificent guest with us tonight, one who is going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than our brother, our returning guest, Brother Rakar. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fine by the grace of Allah, and the people are already, tapping in. And from the first video that we did, all the gods, all the believers, everybody
Oh,
was just
praise
tapping in
Allah.
and wanted to build with you and continue to
Yeah,
hear what you had to say.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, we want to get straight into it. When the first interview went so well that we said we wanted to go back and go over a few other things, but I wanted
Indeed.
to start coming in, heavy with the supreme wisdom lessons. This is something
Yes,
that
sir.
we're given to remember and recite and study. But why are the supreme wisdom lessons relevant in 2024?
Well, in 2024, interesting number to say the least, we have the number four as the end cap, which means a foundation. And the supreme wisdom, as taught to us by the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, is something that every believer in the Nation of Islam must commit to memory. Why? Because we have inside the supreme wisdom the key to unlock the rest, a key to open up the mind and the ability to assess or access that which we refer to as the hereafter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah. And one of the portions and parts of the Supreme Wisdom is the problem book. Now, this
Yeah,
is no pun intended, but this book this can be a problem for some to to really
100%.
to
Absolutely.
dive in and solve. It's like this is like all right, we ain't touching that part. We'll stay with English lesson number C1 and things of that nature. Why,
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
sir. Why do you have such a fascination and affinity towards the problem book?
Well, in particular, in the original rules of instruction, it tells us about 34 problems. And it says that these problems will be the resolve, I'm paraphrasing now, of our issue if we but knew. So when I read that, and I'm saying, well, I'm striving to be a laborer in the Nation of Islam, and if the 34 problems are rooted in the resolve of our issue, then it's very imperative that we pay very close attention in detail to each problem. And in particular, one that stuck to my mind first, because of course we go through in sequence in particular, I want to recollect correctly. Question number three. And in question number three, it talks about a sheep. And I thought that was very interesting
Yes, sir.
because we're taught that sheep in particular is very significant in the role of us as a people here in the wilderness of North America. Master Father Muhammad in the problem book, he says that this book, as an introduction, teaches the lost foundation of Islam a thorough knowledge of our miserable state of condition in a mathematical way when we were found by our Savior. So
Okay.
we know the parable in particular, Jesus said that there was a lost sheep. So when I heard that, I said, wait a minute, well, what does this sheep in the book of Matthew, in the book of Mark, has relevancy with the sheep in comparison to the problem number three. Now, if we go into the problem of number three, it goes like this. It says a sheep contains 14 square feet. 1/10 of a square inch contains 10,000 hairs. How many will the 14 square feet contain? Now, think about this for a minute. There's a lot of significant numbers that come in play when you hear this. We have the number 14, we have the number 10,000, and then we have the number uh, four in particular. Now, if we're looking at this from that perspective, first let's go to the book of John, or I'm sorry, book of Mark, where Jesus gave the parable about the lost sheep. And in particular, this herdsman had 100 sheep, but one sheep went astray. Now, think about this for a minute. Now, if we look at the attributes of God, Allah, then we know that the 99 attributes are attributed to the God, and Allah being the 100th one. Well, there was one that came missing apparently, and God would come himself to revive that lost sheep. And as the scripture teaches us, take the bottom rail and place us back on top of civilization. Number one. That's number one. So this sheep in particular, when we go over the math of it, well, how do we get to that? Because you have to have some form of calculus. You have to know some type of form of mathematics, calculus, so on and what may have you. So I came across these numbers during the math of it. Be patient with me. I'm going to pull it up.
Take your time, sir.
And you'll see why it's very imperative at this present moment. Now, now, to solve this, we need to convert the area of 14 square feet into square inches, and then calculate how many hairs that area will contain based on the density of hairs provided. So the first step is to convert the square feet to square inches. There are 12 inches in a foot. We know in the Nation of Islam, 12 represents the number of rulers. That's number one. But in these 12 inches, you have 1 square foot. So in multiplication, when you go by something, it means to multiply by the same number when you're squared. So if we get 12 times 12, we get the number 144.
Yes, sir.
Again, a very interesting number. Now, it says, therefore, there are 14 square feet that will be. Now, if we look at that, it's asking us to find the number of hairs in per square feet. Now, we're taught by Master Muhammad that 1 square inch of it contains 10,000 hairs. Here goes the significance again.
Yes, sir.
Because we're taught that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is calling for 10,000 fearless. Now, look at this. Now, this lost sheep that was found by God, a square inch of it contains 10,000 hairs. So the sheep in the problem represents the totality of Black people in totality, the whole population. And a square inch of that is 10,000 hairs. These 10,000 hairs are to be called by God to help call and cube the nations. So these 10,000 fearless will spark the mind of the 144,000, and then the 144,000 will cube and spread the minds of the rest of the population. And before you know it, we'll have a whole new entire world. But let's go on with the problem. So it says, therefore, 14 square feet contains or equals 14 square feet in particular. So you have to multiply that by 144, and that equals 2016. Again, a very interesting number, because in the year of 2016, the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan gave the lecture entitled Divine Instructions, Commands for the year of 2016. That was shortly after Justice or Else. So what is the God implying? He's saying, wait, I'm going to unleash the sheep on the world. These 10,000 fearless, because you did not come in mind with the suit that God had in particular, you didn't come in unison with our agreement. So now I'm going to call the gods. I'm going to call the soldiers, and I'm going to command them to rise up now and to take back our community. These are divine instructions now, moving forward, because the agenda was not meant of justice for us. But now, to find the number of hairs, we have 14 square feet, as I stated. We are given that 1/10 of a square inch contains 10,000 hairs. So 1 square inch contains these 10,000 hairs. You will multiply that 10 by 10,000, because you have 10 these inches in particular. So if we multiply that, we come to the number 100,000. Now we find how many hairs are in the 2016. And by doing that, we multiply 2016 times 100,000. And that would equal 201,000,006,000,000 hairs. So the final answer would be the 14 square feet will contain 201,600,000 hairs. Now, in particular, I want to know, I'm not certain, but I want to know in particular what that number could represent. But when you add, what I did notice again, is that if we take the numbers 2, 0, 1, and 6 of that same year that the minister gave that lecture, if we flip it backwards, that makes it 102 years since the falling away of Satan's world. So if we look at that, it's 102 years away from the 6,000-year fall. So that means that God is calling us to rise up, to be an exceeding army, and to take back what is rightfully ours. That's one aspect of the conclusion of problem number 3 that I came up with.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Teaching, Brother Rakar, and people are bearing witness all around the world. Thank you all for tapping in and showing love. Brother Bryce Muhammad, alaikum salam. Brother Audio and the Sword, alaikum salam, sir. Thank you both for the inside shout from Baltimore, Muhammad Miles number 6. and sister Cynthia Muhammad. Walaikum salam, ma'am. Thank you all for showing love to today's People's Podcast. Okay, yes, sir. Now, with the breaking down of numbers for people who are watching and there's a brother who he's a professor who I brought on twice. He deals in one of his slogans is all is math. And he breaks down, he's professor in college and he just that's mathematics is his thing. So I always ask people like yourself and him, how can you help encourage others who have been taught to fear numbers, to fear math, to fear this aspect, to see the importance and value of today's mathematics, breaking it down how Islam is mathematics and mathematics
Come
is
on.
Islam. How do you get us to help us?
Absolutely. Well, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in problem number 13, we were given by Master Muhammad, it tells us, we'll get straight to it. Sorry, I'm looking for my notes. There it goes.
Yes, sir.
Now, in this, it says, after learning mathematics, which is Islam, and Islam is mathematics, it stands true. It can be proven at no limit of time.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
we have to ask if Islam and mathematics are one and the same, then it's imperative that we learn math in order to learn peace. If we understand that God is subsequent, that he does everything in a sequence, if we look at the 7 days of creation, and we notice that God puts everything into a sequence. Now, absent human interaction, if we listen to the universe, it's complete and total peace. Now, think about this. Now, if it's complete and total peace in the universe due to the sequence that God set up, then if we, being according to the Bible, the glory of God's creation, we have to ask ourselves this question. If the universe is at peace, why is that so? Because it's designed to do what God created it to do.
Yes,
And
sir.
if we, being the glory of God, did what we were designed to do, how much better would our society be? So we say Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam and it can be proven at no limit of time. Well, why the words limit of time? Because there's no end cap to that. You can prove that within a blink of an eye. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that math and Islam are one and the same. 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's simple mathematics. So if you learn math, then you learn the language of God. And that's in the being shit.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So basically, Brother Carl, you're saying that we got to go back and listen to Mother Tanetta's lectures dealing with the number 19, and
Absolutely.
so you got
100%.
to. Okay, yes, sir. I'm gonna make sure we everybody understands the value of mathematics. Um, brother was Blair says, "Assalamu alaikum salam." Thank you, Brother Bear, Sister Blair, Sister Naima, alaikum salam, family, and I know you can't wait to break down Jubilee, Jubilo, and Jubilee. That's one of her favorite scriptures. She's always dealing with that as well. Supreme wisdom, mathematics. Yes, sir. Now, okay, my next question is dealing with the Nation of Islam, 5% Nation, Nation of Gods and Earth. Everyone who has supreme wisdom in some form of shape or form, regardless of what religion, unity. Is that something that is possible? And is it something that you strive for in Detroit, Michigan?
Absolutely. Well, the book of Psalms says it like this in chapter 3, verse 1 or 3. Oh, how good it is to dwell in unity with brotherhood. And in another aspect of it, it says that we know that we've come from death onto life when we have love of the brotherhood.
Yes, sir.
So, as I've stated in the previous interview, our direct connection are the lessons. However, we have to be able to move forward from just knowing it by memorizing it, but we also have to find a way for practical application. And when we apply it in its proper sequence, this is why the lessons say that your mathematical theology in the proper term. Well, why does it say we're taught that we're supposed to learn the lessons in past, present, future being perfect tense?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
the word your is a personal pronoun. So the way you see mathematical theology may differ from how I see it. But if I practice it in the term proper for me and my expression, then I can unify with those with their expression and we can have a common bond.
Beautiful. All praises due to Allah. And people, of course, bear witness saying that's right. Teach. Thank you, Sister Cynthia. Thank you, Brother Bryce. All praises due to Allah. Yes, sir. My next question for you is dealing with, because we got to come to separation and a few other questions that we have for you, but I want to stay with the supreme wisdom lessons for
Yes, sir.
everyone who may have. Last time I brought it out because I got it on my bookshelf right here. But yes, sir. When we study the supreme wisdom lessons, how do we keep it to present tense? Like why? Like how do we keep it relevant? 2024. Everybody, let's all build. Let's all go to Starbucks. Go wherever we're gonna go and break out the lessons to make it real to us right now, and especially in the climate that we live in, where so many people seem to have lost hope and are losing hope. How can the supreme wisdom lessons help us?
Brother. Well, as I've stated before, these lessons are key or a blueprint to the foundation being laid by the Supreme Being himself.
Yes, sir.
So it says in the original rules of instruction that lesson number one is the student's assignment first. It gives the student a thorough knowledge of himself and his heavenly home, which is the planet Earth and the best part of the earth. And he says, goes on to say that the enemy is in every part of the earth, and now the righteous and enemy are in every part of the earth, and now the enemy must be removed from every part of the planet Earth. So it's very imperative. So when we go to question number 4, we see in the question it says like this: Why did Yakub
Yes, sir.
why did we remove Yakub and his maid double from the root of civilization over the hot deserts and the caves of West Asia, as now
Yes,
called
sir.
Europe? What is the meaning of EUROPE? How long ago? What did the devil bring with him? How you understand? So on and so forth.
Absolutely.
But the answer to that question is because he started making trouble amongst people by telling lies,
Yes,
accusing the
right.
right people, causing to fight and kill one another. So we have to recognize the Satan within, as well as the Satan externally. And we have to be able to utilize that. I mean, because the envelope, it brings it right back to my next point. Because let me explain something real fast.
Yes, sir.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I noticed this, if we go to problem, the Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2, it opens up and it tells us in the first question of Lost Found Muslim number 2, pardon, it says, who made the Holy Quran or Bible? How long ago?
Yes,
Will you
sir.
tell us why does Islam renew her history every 25,000 years?
That's right.
Right? Well, and the answer is the Holy Quran or Bible is made by the original people who is Allah, the supreme being or black man of Asia.
That's right.
So he writes his history every 25,000 years. So when we look at the Quran, we look at the Bible, that represents the fulfillment. Now, what came to my mind with separation at this present moment, why it's important. Because in Message to the Black Man, I thought it was very interesting that the word separation is mentioned 30 times in totality. Now, if we're taught that the originator or the original man writes history, Bible, and Quran to be in the totality of his story, then what came to my mind was that the Quran is split into what? 30 sections called a Jews. So separation or death is very paramount because it's the fulfillment of scripture. It's the last aspect. And to prove that to be right and exact, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man, and you have to pardon, I had this
I know
labeled
we
out.
right here with you. We right here with you. Take your
I'm
time,
saying, yes,
sir.
yes, please pardon your brother. I'm trying to get it together.
Yes, sir.
Uh, I had everything laid out, but for some reason it's not there. Okay. Now, in Message to the Black Man, the Honorable Muhammad said this. He said again, know that Jesus was only a prophet and cannot hear you pray any more than Moses or any other dead prophet. Know too that this race was created to be the enemy of our people for 6,000 years,
That's
which
right.
makes their number to be 6. He says, that is not your number or mine. We do not have a number because we have no birth record. He says, do not let anyone fool you. This is the separation and the war of Armageddon. He said that's the base of it. That's in the, chapter 18 of Message to the Black Man,
Yes, sir.
reach the man to know thyself. But he goes on. He says in chapter 21, separation of the so-called Negro from their slave masters' children is a must. It is only the solution to our problem. You must know that this is the time of our separation and that the judgment of this world, which you and I have known. Therefore, Allah has said to me that the time is right for you and me to accept our own, the whole planet. I mean, it's really paramount, but that represents the completion. And if we are to complete the work of the man who wrote this, the supreme being, then we have to come into this aspect because this represents the war to end all wars, Armageddon. But the real Armageddon is what? Jihad, which
Yes,
is
sir.
the war with self, the internal as well as external forces.
You're teaching, Reverend Carr. You're teaching. All praise and people are bearing witness. Everybody, that's off the supreme wisdom. Let's get into it tonight. Building with the gods. Yes, Brother Bryce Muhammad says teach. Aryan Seer says truth. This brother has proven that his education, the brother's education is a miseducation. Thank you very much for teaching. 1-4 Savage showing love. Flint, Michigan, representing. Shout out to Flint. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. All right. And also, Brother Ricard, what I wanted to do, make sure while we get started, please let us know what city you all are watching as well. And if you have any questions for our brother, please put those in the chat. Shout out to the super chat. You see that? This is name. Shout out to everyone who was watching. And people are bearing witness all around the world. Now, Brother Ricard, do you is it okay for people to reach out to you on social media?
Absolutely.
Okay, excellent. 1 second. We definitely want to have people reach out to our brother. Anybody who would like to, and how can they find you, Brother Rakar?
But you can find me via social media, Watchman on the Wall, or you can view me via Instagram, Rakar Akel Pasha. And if need be, I can spell it out for you at a later time to shoot the text if necessary. I can do that for you. But those are the two handles that you can reach me from. And any questions you have or any thing you would like to learn more about, be it the will of the Supreme Being, I would love to help aid and assist.
All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. All right, we have a brief 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. We are grateful for every like, share, and subscription. Thank you for each anonymous Cash App. Shout out to all of the People's Podcast affiliates. May Allah continue to bless us all. 1 second. There we go. And we are live with the People's Podcast. Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out if you need any of that. Sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country. Sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ. My two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. All right. Excellent. And we also have S Enterprise, Barber and Beauty Products, plant-based brush wave. They have a phenomenal wave. Everybody get your waves and all of that good stuff for the edges and waves. Their website is kosherwave.com with the K, 770-997-6000. Brother Jeffrey Searcy Muhammad and Sister Stephanie Lasan Muhammad are in Africa working on their trade and commerce to come back and do some more business with their brothers and sisters here in North America and all around the world. Boom. Excellent. All right, Brother Carr. You ready to finish? We're not finished.
Absolutely. Let's get to it, bro.
Yes, sir. And absolutely. And people are showing love all around the world. Elevated places saying they're from NOLA. Okay, shout out to New Orleans. Mario, brother, you're breaking down complex truths, whereas a fool can identify. Watching from Brunswick, Georgia. Brunswick, GA. Okay. Shout out to Alabama. I didn't know Brunswick, Georgia was tapping in tonight. Yeah, shout out to that's my father's hometown. So Bryce Muhammad. Okay, this brother's going deep with the problem book and numbers and all of that good stuff. Excellent, excellent. All right, yes, sir. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask. Oh, so we're going Lost Mount Muslim lesson number 1, question number 2. So we're breaking down why did Musa have a hard time civilizing the devil, 2000 BC, and I'm going to say it just so we have to put you on the spot and nothing like that.
Yes, sir. No, you're fine.
Yes, sir. Okay, so answer, because he was a savage. Savage means a person that has lost the knowledge of himself and who is living a beast life. Musa was a half original man and a prophet. 2000 BC means before Christ. In the Asiatic world, it was in the 11,000th year. Civilized means to teach the knowledge and wisdom of the human family of the planet Earth. I was going to ask you, how important is that, now that we have a clear definition, how important is that for the people who have knowledge of self and are striving to obtain knowledge of self to then go back into areas and around humanity and then try to help civilize those who have lost the knowledge of self? How important is that for us to do, Brother Rickard?
Yes. Now, From my understanding, the word have is different from the word had.
Mm, mm.
So have would mean that it's a present tense because this is some ongoing situation at present moment.
Yes,
Why did
sir.
Musa have a hard time? Well, we know that the scripture is written in advance.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, we know who represents that character because in Deuteronomy 18 and 18, we are told by God that I would give them a prophet likened unto you, Moses, in the last day. Well, some theologians and scholars beg and argue and say that's talking about Jesus or Isa ibn Maryam. Some say that's talking about the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon these worthy servants. However, the conditions and the situation that the people of Israel were in, or the children of Israel were in at that time, is not comparison to the people of the Prophet Muhammad or the people of Isa ibn Maryam, but it's more parallel with the people in modern society today under an unjust ruler, under a tyrant. And if we know that the history is written in advance, then we have to really dig deep. Now, you've made me go here, so I got to now. Now, look at Moses, Musa. According to the Bible, Musa was a man who graduated from the ancient mystery schools of Egypt at that time.
Yes, sir.
Well, the modern ancient Egyptian school of Egypt today represents Freemasonry.
Mm, mm, mm.
And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was a well-known card-carrying member of the Freemason fraternity. Now, let's make the parallels. Let's get it together
Let's get it together.
now. Moses, after killing an Egyptian because he saw him maim one of his own people, had to flee once he saw that because he didn't want or he didn't couldn't bear the sight of seeing his fellow brethren being handled in that way. He went and murdered the Egyptian and then had to seek refuge elsewhere. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had said the same issue. He said when he was 10 years old, he observed and he watched a hanging that took place and it petrified him. And it put him in a state of mind where he couldn't allow himself to be in this. So when he came of age, him and his family, something had transpired. There's rumors and so on and so forth. We don't know necessarily, but we know one thing, that his family had to move. Now, the situation of that, we're not variants of, but he came to a certain area where
Yes,
the
sir.
people in the future were populated, and these people represented a similar condition to the people in the desert at that time,
That's
known
right.
as Black Bottom Detroit. And when he migrated in that area, he was in a place called Paradise Valley.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
in Paradise Valley, this is where the most concentrated of Black people at that time were populated, right?
Mm, mm.
So Master Father Muhammad, he comes and he raises up a number of 25,000 people according to the problem book. And this raising up of these people took place in the year of between the years of 1930 and 1933.
Yes,
So
sir.
he
Yes, sir.
raised people up for a number of 3 years. He was amongst us doing his labor. But after the first year of doing this, it was like a fire in the wilderness. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was getting word from his uncles and his father about this teaching that was like a trailblazing fire-like teaching. And so he, before he allowed his wife to go, he said, well, let me go see what this is all about, the same way Moses did. And he went to go see what the fire was about. And when he said to see that if I can bring back something that be beneficial to our family. And what he did when he went there, he bore witness to the fulfillment because he was a young man who always wanted to be a minister, always wanted to be a preacher. He was
Yes, sir.
what you consider a third generation preacher because his father and his grandfather were preachers. So he grew up knowing the word of God and him being infused, being endoused with the spirit and word of God. He recognized Master Father Muhammad simultaneously. He knew and represented where he was in scripture.
Yes,
And the
sir.
Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm going to end it on this note, said that he was similar to the donkey and that the Master Father Muhammad was like Bob. And he said that had he not seen the angel, you understand? I'm sorry, pardon me. He was the donkey and we were like Bow, pardon me. And he said that the angel in the middle row was Master Father Muhammad.
Yes,
And he
sir.
said that Had he not recognized the angel with the sword hanging, we surely would have been wiped out. Praise be to Allah.
All praises to Allah. You teaching, yes, sir. And people will bear witness all around the world. Thank you all very much, everyone who's tapping in, saying Allahu Akbar. That's right. Teach people putting, fist and fire emojis and all of the thumbs up. Excellent. Okay, well, I got, we have more questions for you, but I want to stay right there with the importance of Detroit. It's a pilgrimage. It's something that the whole world watches when every time we've been to Savior's Day, every vending, the drill competition, we just take over the whole weekend. Everybody's there, workshops, and it's something that the world, when you see garments and bow ties and civilized, yes, sir. Why? How important is it, someone as a resident of Detroit? What up, though? How important is it for you to see everyone? How important is Detroit to the mission of the Nation of Islam, but for the world to see us stand up with suit and raise on our living perpendicular on our square in Detroit? How important is that, sir?
Well, it's very imperative and important to the aspect or the mission of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. How so? Because this laid the groundwork, the foundation of our Genesis or our exegesis out of Pharaoh's world.
Yes, sir.
It's a very important and pivotal moment because this is exactly where the war of Armageddon literally started to a degree. Now, let me explain. Dr. Wesley Muhammad, along with student minister Dimitri, brought to the attention about how the first hall or area where Master Father Muhammad made knowledge born was located right around the corner from the headquarters of the Jewish gang at that time, known as the Purple Gang. And he set up his headquarters or his beachhead right on enemy territory. And said because at the end of the day, these people were causing a nuisance on our post. So Master Father Muhammad decided to cause a nuisance on theirs.
Yes,
and
sir.
Because of the influence that took place with them purifying black people, and black people were now no longer being wine drinkers. They were no longer gambling. They were no longer involving themselves in the after work curriculum that Jewish people provided at that time. And I'm not talking about all Jews, I'm talking about a particular group of Jews, so don't be offended. But at a particular point of time, they were very pivotal in the downsizing or miseducation of the so-called Negro at that time. So Master Muhammad, knowing this, being a wise scientist, made his beachhead on that in that area and began to work for the beginning of the resurrection of the dead. And as we know in both Bible, that the serpent in Genesis started off as a snake, but as he made his way through Scripture, he grew from being a little snake in the garden to a seven-headed dragon.
That's right.
So we have to ask. So again, which brings back to the sheep, because Genesis is mentioning the sheep again. Now, in the Bible, the sheep is mentioned, interesting enough, 500 times in the Bible. The word sheep is mentioned.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we take that number 500, and if we take the Bible from beginning to the ending, Alpha Omega, no beginning, no ending, that's a complete cipher, a circle. Then, interesting enough, it's 500 seconds in 8 minutes and 20 seconds. And we're taught that is the complete circle of how much long it takes for blood to go from the crown of our head to the heel of our foot. But it also teaches us that it takes the light of the sun 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach the center of our earth. And this is how we calculated or was able to calculate the distance of the sun from the earth, because we're taught the speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. If you multiply that by 500 seconds, you get the number 93 million.
Come on with it.
That's not a coincidence. So the sheep being at the beginning in Genesis and being mentioned in the end of Revelation represents the beginning and the end of Satan's world and the beginning of a new world. And it's us who will be the benefactors of that new world as the chosen of God, not to be the only benefactors, but the ones to help break the door open, if that makes sense. I hope I answered the question.
Oh, absolutely, you answered the question. Go ahead, Brother Rakar. Teaching, praise be to Allah, and people bear witness all around the world. Thank you all very much. Sister Cynthia, Brother Alan Jones Muhammad. Thank you, Brother Mike G. Everybody who was stepping in, Sister Blair, Brother Blair, everyone just bearing witness. Excellent. All right. My next question for you, sir, is okay. Here we go. Boom. Now I'm on. You just broke it down the supreme wisdom. I mean, you break it down the supreme wisdom so well for us. Um, okay, here we go. We're going to deal with Columbus. We're going to deal with Musa. And then I wanted to ask you about, oh, this is what it was. Thank you to everyone who was sending me messages, everybody sending me questions. I wanted to say this is a strong pivot, but it's an important pivot. You're doing such a good job of representing and all over social media and all over the city of Detroit, from Greektown to everywhere. Everybody's watching you on a podcast deal with the importance of relationships.
Yes.
Right? Yes, sir. Why is that in social? How can we stay with the supreme wisdom of relationships?
We're gonna stay there, brother.
Yes, sir. Brother versus sister, man versus woman. Everybody, it seems like we all at odds with one another. It seems like it's, especially right now in this climate, people blaming stuff on black men, people blaming stuff on the women. Y'all did this, we didn't do enough of this. Why is relationships so valuable and important to our people right now?
Well, as the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, the cornerstone of every nation is family, number one. So if the family is disoriented, and if the cornerstone is a stone that is used as a base to build strong foundation, then if our families are disoriented, corrupt, or not in unison, then we have no foundation to lie on. So it's a reason why the infrastructure is set the way it's set up. Ironically enough, in the restrictive law of Islam, this is as we get, God is subsequent. He does everything in the sequence. So it's very important for us to understand these monuments or these structures given to us to help us facilitate the institution. Now, humanity is like an institution.
Yes, sir.
And each institution has a prime directive that is instituted by a prime director. In this case, it is the Lord of the worlds. He is the prime director of the new establishment of a new heaven and a new earth. And he's given us the protocol to be successful. So he says the restrictive of Islam is our success.
That's right.
That is the foundation of what we are trying to establish. So in the first part, it says, worship no God but Allah, the one the messenger represents to us. Why is that important? Because before you can have a relationship with someone else, you must first have a relationship with God and a relationship with yourself. Number one. But right after you establish that relationship, then he goes right into our second half of the faith, which is what? Marriage.
Yes,
Prophet
sir.
Muhammad, blessed will Allah be upon him, he said, and remember, 4 is the number of foundations. I'm saying it for a reason.
Yes, sir.
But in the first 4 laws of the restrictive of Islam, it deals with the foundational base. So if the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, he taught us that marriage is half the faith. Well, what is the first half? The first half is shahada, bearing witness there is no God but Allah, and one worthy of praise and praise much is his message.
Yes,
then
sir.
The second, look, part 2 or number 2, it says fornication or adultery is forbidden. Wait a minute. So he's telling us that right after you get yourself established with God, the next step is to get married. That's the next step. And then after you get married, you need laws and bylaws and that. So he takes us from the altar directly to the bedroom, because he says it is forbidden to commit indecent acts on one another, sodomy. So now, not only is he instituting marriage, but he's telling us how to practice our sacred relationship or ritual in the bedroom. He said, wait, after you get married, you can't do certain things anymore. Let's stop that. Sodomy, as we know, represents, pardon my vagueness, but this is what it represents. Sodomy is either oral or anal penetration, and that's forbidden. The reason why Sodom or sodomy is the root word of that form or act of penetration is because the sodomites were trying to re-emulate the sensation you feel when you go inside of a woman. So when you go inside of your wife, there's a sensation that takes place, but the sodomites, oral, wanted to reintroduce that because they knew they didn't have the necessary parts to do so. So they wanted to reiterate that. And this is why the God prohibited it, because that act was born in Sodom and Gomorrah. It was not born in the nature and the knowledge of God. God does not prohibit such activity because he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah for doing such acts. So in the new world, that type of thing will not be prohibited.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
then
sir.
this is the restrictive law of Islam. And then the fourth part, do not eat the pig or its byproduct.
Yes,
But
sir.
wait a minute. That's the fourth. This is the fourth. Now, the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan in Savior's Day 2012 said that Jesus took the swine and cast the demons into it. And he said, when you think of swine, you think of filth. He said, so he was putting the filth where it belongs. He said that Jesus had took the demons out of the woman and put it where it belonged in the swine. And he brought up our sister Rihanna because at the time she had did that show where she was dancing stage half nude. And he said that people were saying that she shouldn't be doing that. She's X, Y, and Z, so on and so forth. And he said, wait, let me put the demon where it belongs. Y'all got it in her, but let me take it out of her and cast it in the swine. The appetite for filthy behavior, the appetite for wanting to do dirt. So that has to be, so you cannot consume the pig or its byproduct. The byproduct of pig is filth. So not only is swine prohibited, but consuming filth, the byproduct of swine, should not be condoned. I hope that makes sense. This is why the relationship should be very healthy. And it's important.
Teaching, Brother Rakar, teaching.
All
And
praise
people are showing love, and man, all around the world, you going deep with the restricted laws of Islam. Everybody saying that's right. Teach, my brother. From Psalm and the highlights, and now we know, and unlike God, and everybody just bearing witness and fire emojis and snap. So
all
we
praise
appreciate
to Allah.
like, and thank you for every share and subscription. Okay, this is what I was looking for, brother, and I found it. All praise to Allah. All right, so I wanted to speak about the Yakub and the importance to 2024 and how we can help reverse Yakub. So
Absolutely.
yes, sir. So question number 28. What kind of rules and regulations, including all laws enforced while manufacturing the devil? Answer. Yakub's first rule was to see that all of his followers were healthy, strong, and good breeders. If not, he sent them back all that he found that was not good and multiplying, and that they should marry at the age of 16. Yakub gave his people the law of birth control to be enforced while manufacturing the devil. That was to destroy the alike and save the unalike, which means kill the black babies and save the brown babies. This law was given to the doctors, the ministers, and the nurses and cremated. The doctor's law was to examine all that marry, and this was his law, that anyone desiring to marry must first be qualified by the doctor and in turn be qualified or disqualified them to the minister. Okay, then this is super long. Yes, sir. But I wanted to just ask, how can in 2024, how can we make sure that this is not being done to us, that we are not still under the thumb of Satan and the rule and the enforcing of those rules by Yakub all of these years later? How can we fight against this?
Well, first and foremost, we have to remove ideology.
Yes, sir.
We have to remove ourselves from polytheism.
Yes, sir.
And before we can end subjugation to our open enemy, we must first end the subjugation in our household. Again, we have to remember that what's mentioned in that lesson you mentioned was the science of mating or birth control. The
Yes,
Honorable Elijah Muhammad in chapter 23 of Message to the Black Man entitled Get Knowledge to Benefit Self. In the 7th paragraph, he said that he recalled a meeting that Congress was having about the appropriation of funds for a Negro college at that time. Now we know today as Howard University.
Yes,
and he
sir.
said that one of the congressmen said that what would be the benefit of us appropriating funds to teach Black people? He said, well, we would never teach them the 3 sciences, which he said was, I quote, chemistry, the science of birth control, and the science of modern warfare, right? And then he goes on to say that the enemy kept this away from us because he knew that these 3 sciences would be helpful to help protect, preserve, and advance any society. Protect, preserve, and advance any society. Key words here. So Yakub understood the science of birth control, and this is why we have the world we have today. This is why he was successful. Yakub only lived to be 150 years of age.
Yes,
but
sir.
the instructions and the blueprint he laid down for his work still continued after his death because he went from a charismatic context of leadership to a contextual form of leadership. And that's what the Honorable Brother Minister Sparta is doing today by inviting or introducing us to the Council of the 12. Because he's removing charismatic leadership and he's establishing contextual leadership because we have to have leadership with a context, a blueprint to follow after he's gone that we can continue to do in his absence.
Yes,
so
sir.
It's very important to understand that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he's Yakub in reverse. So if he's Yakub in reverse and Yakub built this world and he's Yakub in reverse, then it means he's the man solely responsible for the new government on his shoulders. Hence why we have the sun, moon, and star on ours, because God teaches us that in the end, Jesus said, one nation under God. There's many denominations, many different nations around the world with different flags, but in the end, there's only going to be one flag, sun, moon, and star, and that governs every human being on the planet and every planet in the solar system. One nation.
Teaching. Go ahead, Brother Rakar. All praises due to Allah.
Oh,
bear witness.
I hope I'm making sense.
Oh, you're making perfect sense. Thank you to everyone who always shows love and tap in to show love. Brother Bryce, Newark, New Jersey. Muhammad Mas number 25. Shout out to Newark. Always holding it down at the forefront. And shout out to Muhammad Mas number 1 and everyone else who continues to show love to the People's Podcast and to our brother and guest, Brother Rakar. Okay, Brother Rakar, you breaking this down so phenomenal. On a lighter, yes, sir. We only have 2 more questions for you because I got to put you on the hot seat. Inshallah, can we bring you back for part 3?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. When you're not science, breaking atoms, and building mathematics, what's your favorite movie to watch? What type of movies do you enjoy watching, Brother Rakar?
Well, my favorite movie, believe it or not, it's funny you say that, but one of my favorite movies is A Beautiful Mind by General Russell Crowe.
Of course.
You're familiar.
Yes,
and John Nash, in particular, because of the way he saw things and how he was able to, correlate certain mathematical codes, he was able to see things from a different perspective. That always intrigued me. But of course, it goes without saying, most martial art movies I'm very fond of. Action flicks. I practice a form of martial arts called Thari El Kainun. And that means it's a Arabic word which means the retaliatory law or the law of retaliation.
Okay.
Because we're not be the aggressor. So it's a mixed martial or Montucan science of all African traditions, whether it be from Baba Kalindi Iyi, Ahati's form of martial arts, to Steve Muhammad, better known as Sijo, our beloved Sijo Sabir with his BKF. These are all rooted in Asiatic science. So I took pieces from him. I took pieces from Sanukis Roof, as taught to us by our illustrious founder, Musa Moses Powell. And all praise due to Allah, may Allah be ever pleased with him. And the ministry referred to him as a god of martial arts. So I said, well, wait, he's a god. I want it but he said that ye are all gods, children of the Most High God. So we have the ability to do the same. So I formulated a martial art that has traces of Sanuki's rule, traces of Sijo Sabir's martial art, BKF, and traces of Baba Kalindi Iyi martial art. And I've also incorporated what is known as 52 blocks, which is a style that
we know about it.
It was, enough said. It was written in the penal system of North America. So it's an Asiatic art that originated from original people here in the wilderness of North America. So I incorporate all these, and that's basically my 4 foundation. 52 block, Baba Kalindi Iyi's Ati, Sijo Sabir, and Moses Pai. Foundation, Thari El Kainun.
Yes, it's powerful, brother. You're breaking it down, brother. breaking it down. And people are saying yes, fire emojis. Okay, I didn't know you were big into martial arts like that, but we can discuss offline. But there's so many movies. Yes, my father, he wasn't a fan of, even though I'm an actor, musicals and I'm comedy. He was like, "Hey, watch this fight movies." I'm like, "All right." So we grew up with this. We had to watch. It wasn't mafia movies. It was pretty much fighting movies. You didn't have too much options. So yes, sir, we could discuss some of the great fighting movies. One of my favorite movies recently is that I watched, Never Back Down. It came out like 2010, around that time period. But Never Back Down is very good, and it deals with practical application of how to fight and never back down. All right. Yes, sir. And thank you to everyone who is showing love. Once again, Brother Ricard, I know once this is airing on YouTube and it's going to go up, how can people communicate with you who want to further
Yes,
talk about Master Farah Muhammad, Supreme Wisdom, Problem Book Lessons, Minister, Messenger? How can
yes,
people
sir.
reach out to you?
Any of the mediums, whether it be Instagram, IG is Rakar Akel Pasha, spelled RAKARAHKEL PASHA. And you can reach me also, Watchman on the Wall on Facebook. And your brother is also a phenomenal MC. I would love to. I mean, do I? Would you mind if I shared a little bit of something on the?
Let's go ahead. Let's go
Okay,
with it.
all right. I have to because I think I will end it on this note. Plus,
Yes,
my brothers
sir.
are out there like me. So
Yes, sir.
I say, I never lie. So if I spew it over track, I live it. Wait, if I spew it over track, no, let me remix that. I hate the lie. So if I said it, it's a fact. I live it. They like, who is he? I am him, and they a bunch of gimmicks. A lot of artists of the day prefer to mirror lyrics. Produce an ear before your verse. You gotta sit and listen. Now dig this. Compared to Christ, how we had arisen. I.e., no religion might offend some Christians. He's in the kitchen, whipping Christ in the Pyrex, the blicky by the stove, and be paranoid like I'm next. But look here, you see, Elijah had a better plan. My left foot forward, I'm walking like a better man. Wait, rewind that. I said, the God had a better plan. Now make way, the unidentified is about to crash out. I'm selling the mags now. Are you a family man? Yes, sir, I travel. I'm walking across the burning sand and be illuminated. I'm balancing off the tightrope, light glow over my head, rocking the blindfold. Took the veil off. I felt the warmth of an old soul. Some brothers took the oath that they still walk with their eyes closed. But damn, I guess you're scared to see the real truth. But let's be honest, you're afraid to see the real you. And as I cruise through, I'm seeing hell from this rear view. My plates read it and weep, and I am here to bring the nonsense to a closure. Along with some soldiers and the ranger when we rolling. They say when out in Rome, you gotta do it like the Romans. My condolence won't condone it. I annihilate opponents. Because you're either intelligent or irrelevant. The flow is heaven sent. God body from the beneficent. No room for negligence. My verses are full of virtue. A well-rounded painting. No square can fit in that circle. Blue to purple. Back when Ralph was bebopping. A rock steady. Had the Donatello stuffed in the Rello burning back heavy. Had the Beamer Benz and Bentley before they blew up the levee. This the home of Monte Carlos, Regals, and Box Chevys. Y'all ain't ready. My composure be the pulse of the culture. Taught me how to move in a room full of vultures. M taught me how to rap and rip the beat till it's over. And Pop taught me death is really only once for a soldier. Hard coded and Nova Scotia. No complaining, I'm training. I'm bringing the family on the road like Keenan Ivory and Damon. Now for Cloud, we on the route of this chicken we chasing. Without a doubt, you knew the outcome of the bout from the way, and we made our way in through the industry. In particular, like it's finicky. Too frail, I gotta bring this in braille, bring back your memory from that night. A guard in past life. The war with one swipe, no keyboards, keyword to slide on you. Yeah, I'm that type, no backbite. Allowed on my premise, I'm from the world with a hanger, they had beat up Topanga. And boys meet on the corner where the heads run up on you like track meets. This is the hardest thing to pave through the streets is concrete. It's job deeds, brother. Look me in my eyes. Oh, you can't see, brother? You'll be him in the some of your children want to be, brother. That's niggatry. I still seek refuge from being niggardly. Though it hurt, I still push through when I'm writing birth pain calligraphy. I'm literally a genius. I crafted and form a miracle. Like Moses, jot down some commandments. The text is biblical. It's spiritual. The writings on the wall is about to fall on America. Don't want to be backdoored? Don't get involved.
Yes, sir. Okay. Okay. God, buddy. Okay. Yes, sir. I definitely wasn't prepared for that, Robert. Okay. All praise due to Allah. Yes, sir.
I'm like, listen, I'm a hip hop student, brother. And it's because of this book.
Now that's a perfect way. We ain't got nothing else to say. You know what I'm saying? That's the perfect way to close this episode out. People bear
Yes,
witness.
sir.
Brother Kente. Like Salam family. Brother Kente, we miss you. And thank you everyone who's showing. People who saying my brother stays in the streets of Detroit. A4X sends the prayers of ASA. Walaikum salam, sir. People are bear witness. Fire. Thank you very much. Brother Blair said favorite movie is The Equalizer. Yes, sir. You can't go wrong with The Equalizer. And thank you everyone who continues to send. Thank you, Sister Naima Moo, and everyone who sends positive energy to the People's Podcast because this is what it's all about. And on that positive note, inshallah, we look forward to seeing Brother Rakar back.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you all for watching. Come on.